Hello and welcome to the first session of Coleman University's latest professional development training series, Instructor Fundamentals. We're going to start off this series with an overview of what it means to be an instructor, including the responsibilities and requirements associated with that role. Today we will discuss the purpose of this training series. Consider what it means when we say that teaching is an art. Briefly examine the instructor's role and some of the precepts and responsibilities that go along with that position. Of necessity, this is a fairly quick flyover on these topics, but it should be enough to whet your interest and start a discussion. Our goal is not to preach at you from on high, but rather to stimulate you into thinking and talking about these subjects as a faculty in the spirit of shared governance, self-determination, and academic professionalism. Here you see the stated purpose of this training series. We will provide a framework that we hope will start a discussion within the faculty on teaching methods and theories with the aim of improving overall instruction and instructor satisfaction. By no means are the theories and concepts discussed in this training series the only solutions to classroom problems, but they are time-proven and effective when used appropriately. If we consider teaching as an art, then the teacher must be deemed an artist. For the non-artist, this designation gives the impression of a free spirit who is able to do whatever he or she wishes in the name of art. But should you ever talk to an artist about art, you'll quickly realize that there are many rules behind what an artist does. It is only by knowing these rules that an artist can truly be creative and communicate his or her message through art. We say teaching is a performance art because the instructor is the medium of that art, the canvas upon which communication occurs. As on-ground teachers, we communicate through our voice and inflection, our facial expressions, our body movement, and our eye contact. Online instructors have a more difficult time in creating their communication because they have to express the nuances typically shown physically in the classroom simply through words and images. As teachers, we have to be fully aware of our bodies and the space our bodies inhabit in much the same way as dancers know their bodies and their relationship to the performance stage. As with all arts, the performer can't fake it. The performance must be a reflection of his or her true self. As a teacher, if you try to be humorous because you were told that humor works well in the classroom, but your personality is relatively humorless, the technique will fail. If you are told to be expressive with your face and gestures, but you have severe body image issues, you're not likely to give a natural performance, and it will fail to communicate clearly. As there are many styles and types of art, there are many styles and methods of teaching. The trick is to use the styles that are true to you and are still effective in the classroom. We said that artists have rules they must follow to communicate clearly. Every art, every craft has its own hard-won set of methods that are known to work. This is true whether you're a mason building a cathedral, a ballerina telling the story of Swan Lake, or a teacher trying to motivate a less than stellar class. Much of what we will be sharing with you during this training series has to do with these methods and the theories behind them. This science of education, like all soft sciences, can never guarantee 100% success through the use of a given method. But knowing the methods and when to apply them will make you a more effective instructor. Artists cannot simply do anything they wish and call it art. Modern art has often been accused of just throwing paint at the wall, but all successful modern artists served their apprenticeships, learning and mastering traditional art forms and methods before consciously deciding to break those rules and create their own art. Art doesn't come from ignoring the rules just for the sake of doing so. Art comes from purposefully breaking the rules in unique situations in order to communicate that art's message better. By now you realize that we take the view that art is focused on communication. Art communicates to the viewer just as the teaching art communicates to the student. In order to be able to communicate effectively, The artist teacher must be able to empathize and understand the audience. Given the rapid generational, social, and technological changes evidenced in our society, teachers cannot automatically assume that the students before them feel and think the same way that they did when they were students. For instance, I predate the use of the four-function calculator in the classroom. Corporal punishment was frequently used in my public school. Black and white TV was barely becoming common, and we only had 3 channels which everyone watched each night and discussed at work the next day. Telephones were for emergencies. You communicated through letters, and banks only opened from 10 to 4 with an hour off for lunch. Should I choose to share this with my class, they don't think, "Wow, I wonder what his perceptions are of today's world." They think, not like me, ignore him, he's not like me. As artists, then, similar to, but different than our audience, what is our role in this performance space, virtual and physical? What does it mean to be a teacher today? The instructor's role in teaching adults is threefold. First, you are the exemplar. You're the mirror through which proper behavior is reflected. The, quote, "do as I say, not as I do," end quote, school of thought does not work in the classroom. Students become meticulous and detail-oriented when they watch a meticulous and detail-oriented instructor perform. The instructor's demeanor should be purposeful and competent. You are all-knowing without being a know-it-all. Especially when teaching adults, effective instructors must share power within the classroom without abdicating their authority. The best instructors see ignorance as a transitory state that is only overcome with effort and guidance. The second role is to act as a guide on this journey of discovery. The instructor leads but does not control the student's learning. While the guide may know the quickest path to take to the objective, the wise instructor realizes that there are many paths to understanding, some of which are more effective than others for a given student. Finally, the third role is to be the subject matter expert, not only to have the academic background to justify the salary, but a true, ongoing desire to continue the learning process as a teacher. Nothing so instructs as having to teach. A true expert not only knows a topic, he or she knows how much isn't known. The expert maintains an open mind and actively searches for new information, even if it comes from an unexpected source, like a student. So if that's our role as instructors, mirror, guide, and learner, how do we achieve it? For instructors, the professional precepts, those rules prescribing correct conduct, are fairly straightforward. We must maintain knowledge of our subject, build our ability to communicate, and utilize our personality to reach our students. This hard-won, purposeful, and cyclical action is never finished. Let's examine each of these precepts individually. When it comes to the precept of knowledge, there are 4 basic areas that we must be aware of to become more effective instructors. To reemphasize, we must know and stay on top of the subject matter we're teaching. We must know more than what is in the textbook. Regurgitation is not teaching. We must discover additional teaching methods and seek out greater understanding of how students learn. Just as the doctor is asked to know more than simply the names of diseases, but how to identify and cure them, teachers must be sensitive to and aware of difficulties in learning a topic, so that they can create or use techniques to overcome them, or better yet, to remove the barriers entirely. In order to be able to do this, teachers have to understand students. Each type of student, child, adolescent, adult, foreign national, developmentally disabled, bored, or failing, each presents its own unique set of challenges. Effective instructors understand this, and they modify their behaviors to best match student needs. Finally, being graceful enough to understand no one person can know everything, and in the face of an unanswerable question, not taking the easy road of obfuscation, but rather admitting ignorance and a willingness to find out. The second precept, ability, has to do with physical and mental competence. If you have a severe speech impediment or heavily accented English, you may find teaching to be difficult because of the problems with oral communication. If you are all thumbs, you'll find it difficult to teach complex physical skills that require demonstration. If your personality is such that you find planning to be an anathema, teaching, which has a large planning component, will not likely be an enjoyable field for you. If you can't form a clear question or deal with an incorrect response, you will never truly be effective in the classroom. You don't need to be able to demonstrate every skill in the teaching profession, but you do need to acquire most of them, at least at a journeyman level. Excellent instructors are those who continue to hone their craft until they achieve mastery in these skills. The final precept, personality, has to do with how you deal with stress, uncertainty, humor, self-image, embarrassment, and control. Some personalities are more amenable to the classroom than others, but even this varies depending on the type of audience and the subject taught. Understanding yourself and how your personality allows you to interact with others is the first step in improving your performance. It allows you to modify situations, to play to your strengths, and to downplay your weaknesses. By recognizing weaknesses, you may be able to retrain yourself or find other ways of expression that overcome the personality issue. No matter what your personality, there is always room for growth in a performance art like teaching. You need to keep learning. You can't lean on your sword. The more you learn and practice, the more options become available to you in the classroom, and the better teacher you will become. Instructors have responsibilities to three primary entities: the university that employs them, the students who try to learn from them, and the instructor, him or herself, as a professional. In general, as with any employment situation, you owe the university the responsibility of obedience. You must follow stated policy and curtail your behavior while in front of the students. In the teacher-student dynamic, you're in a position of power over others, which has its own unique problems, which we'll discuss in a moment. Your primary responsibilities to your students are to make your classroom a safe environment and to provide your students value for the time and money they spend on education. Finally, to yourself as a professional, you owe the responsibility of keeping to professional standards and forcing yourself to undertake challenges within your professional life to grow and increase your worth as an instructor. As far as the university is concerned, you are the pointy end of the spear. You're the face of the university as far as the students are concerned, and your actions reflect, either positively or negatively, upon the school. Universities, public or private, have to maintain their accreditation, work within the law, and quite often are accountable to various branches of the federal government for their daily activities. As the provider of many of these daily activities, such as classroom teaching, you're responsible to follow the policies of the school regarding class hours, attendance, and whatever else the university deems is within your purview. Again, as a behavioral mirror, you should act in the way you wish the students to act. Don't be late. Don't harass someone based on gender or background. Don't be sloppy or ill-mannered. Fulfill the demands of the curricula. Teach the topics required fully and to the best of your ability. Make sure that your course meets the learning outcomes set forth by the university. The students have paid good money to learn what you're supposed to teach. Please do not shortchange them. As mentioned earlier, you are in a unique position as a teacher. You have power over others in a fairly unregulated environment. The opportunity for abuse exists. As instructors, we must regulate ourselves. This means that we don't enter into physical or emotional relationships with our students. We do not ask for or offer sexual favors. We ensure our students do not discriminate or harass each other so that all people feel secure in our classrooms. We must create a safe and comfortable environment in which to learn. We must be aware of the nature of diversity, but not enslaved by it. We have a job to do as instructors. We still have to provide our subject as best we can. We don't modify reality to meet our students' expectations, but we may modify our teaching style to allow students to accept the truths that we are teaching. We add value as instructors by improving the lives of our students, helping them become smarter, more ethical, and better able to succeed in life. Our teaching must make the effort and the expense of an education worthwhile. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we have a responsibility to ourselves as teachers. It is easy to become burned out in the teaching profession. It is common to feel alone and isolated in front of the classroom, but it does not have to be this way. By consciously deciding to be a professional, rededicating yourself each day to your chosen field of study, and sharing that passion toward the topics with your students, you'll never fall into a rut, trapped in ennui. By constantly striving to improve yourself and associating yourself with other faculty members who share the belief in the value of improvement, you can never be alone. You owe it to yourself to maintain currency in your field so that your teaching does not dull your professional skills. By accepting these challenges, learning new skills, keeping your mind and body active and engaged in your own learning process, you'll naturally become the best instructor you can possibly be, as nothing so instructs as having to teach. You'll become the kind of instructor whose students will remember fondly decades later as the person who made a meaningful difference in their lives. This initial class in the new series is fairly general and, admittedly, somewhat preachy in style, but it does form the basis of our expectations of this training. We are going to show you the art and the methods behind good instruction. We expect you to be sensitive to the fact that you are always on public display, that you are responsible for your own professionalism and demeanor. For those who decide to continue on through the 9 remaining classes, I guarantee you will come away with more tools for your academic toolbox. With practice and dedication, these tools we will share will make you a more effective instructor. You will come to understand the good and bad things that happen in your classroom and how to come to grips with them. We hope you'll stay and continue on the journey. If you've joined us electronically rather than in person, please take advantage of the associated forum to share with all of us your thoughts on this important topic, just as we did in the live version of this course. Thank you for your time. We hope we've tickled your interest in this new training series. Our next session will be on classroom motivation, both theory and practice, but we'll examine it from a somewhat unique perspective of marketing and sales. See you then. In the meantime, as always, have a wonderful day.